going on, fam, please, please, please get your libations, get your chamomile, get your water, get your hydration, get a little something extra, whatever you want to do to get through the show. What's going on, fam? How's everybody doing? We gonna try. I'm gonna try to get you out of here tonight. I'm gonna try to, we know we late. I'm not gonna try to keep you here necessarily to the midnight hour. Somebody's in the back. Yvette, you lying. You keep quiet back there. I'm gonna keep it down. Let's do what we do. No need to be you in the back. Quiet down. Fam, listen. As usual, before we get into it, please hit that like button for me. Please go to subscribetobrown.com. I would appreciate it if you would do that. I would appreciate it. Please go to subscribetobrown.com and enter your email just so I have it on file. If you want to donate, you can go to donatebrown.com. You can also go to patreon.com/ycarnell. You can subscribe to the newsletter. All of that great stuff will be in the description to the video. Also, please share the video. If you haven't hit that bell, cost you no money. Just hit that bell if you haven't hit that bell to get a notification. Many of you are. That's why you're here. So I appreciate that. Let's do it. Let's get the likes. Get the likes. Cost you nothing. And remember, coming up on the 1st of August, that is a Thursday, we will have how the Irish became white. We will have that. That will be a Thursday show. So we will have 3 shows that week, a Monday show, a Wednesday show, and the Thursday show. Please be advised, call in if you read the book. If you haven't read the book, wait until call in for another show. Okay, so let's just be clear on that so that I don't come off as rude when the show comes around. I don't want to be rude to anybody. So let me see, make sure. So yeah, fam, we have a lot to talk about. I'm sure you all have been hearing about Trump and the squad, and before that Pelosi and everything that's going on. And I want to talk about something in particular that kind of frames something for me in a specific way, in terms of, it's kind of like we already know. See, this isn't a show. This has never been a show that's just like where we rail against Republicans or we rail against Democrats. Surely enough, this is a big government. Reparations is a big government program. So we understand that we probably, unless you do some drastic stuff on the right, can't do it through any kind of Republican initiative. But I have always made it a point to try to present a kind of cohesion among ADOS people, as opposed to just, well, y'all are all C words. You know what that C word is? It's 4 letters. Because I understand that there are people on both sides of the aisle who exist to get their biscuits buttered. It's not just Republicans. It's not just ADOS Republicans. And it's not just ADOS Democrats. So I have always treaded a line. But one of the things that has always occurred to me is there are certain people. 2 things. There are certain people who are, and who always have been grifters. And I think about what makes that possible. One thing, put a pin in that. The second thing that I think about is something that came about today. So I saw this woman who's running against AOC, one of the members of the squad. And I thought to myself, there's something familiar. Not in terms of I know this person, but there's something familiar about what's going on here in the framework of the American body politic. There's something very familiar going on here. So here is this Jamaican immigrant who's running as a Republican, right? Now, one of the things that stood out to me first wasn't just how she was running and who she was running against, because that's important. Because you're talking about running against one of the progressive firebrands in the party, right? Now, I have my problems, and I have talked about those problems with AOC, but I think like this is a voice that is needed. I don't have to always agree with it, but I want voices represented, and I want you to do it well, and I want to do it well, and I want to disagree with you well, right? If I can, I want to change your mind, but if I can't change your mind, you and I are going to go head to head, and we're going to compete. Right? We're going to compete for these. You don't get the ADOS vote if you don't come in line and try to understand what race is. But then I'm not a person who's duplicitous and who would just say, well, I'm just going to go with this person because they're opposed to AOC. No. What's going on with you? And why do you look familiar? Why does what you're doing look familiar? Well, this kind of looked interesting to me when you go back and you see that, like, this person who was running as a Republican not too long ago was saying, congratulations, Alexandria. Queen is headed in a new direction. And it's time for new leadership. So that gets me thinking. What's going on? Because it's one thing if you are a Democrat and you decide, I don't like this Democrat and I'm going to run against this Democrat. But how do you go from all of a sudden supporting this person to now saying the things that you are saying? How do you go from that? And what about this? Put a pin in it, fam. What about this looks familiar? There's something about this grift that looks familiar. So I'm going to take you to some of the things that Miss Murray said. And I'm going to bring you to somebody else who said something similar. And then I'm going to go and show you how this is problematic for the Democratic Party. And it exposes something about our problem and why we can't have solidarity. You're wondering, well, how does this Republican expose? I'm going to get to it. I'm going to show you. So let's just go to a couple of quotes. And this is her. This is her talking about AOC. There is a crisis in Queens. And it's called AOC, Murray told Fox News. And instead of focusing on us, she's focusing on being famous. Mainly rolling back progress and authoring the job-killing Green New Deal and killing the Amazon New York deal. Now, I don't even know how she did that. She was opposed to it, but that's her right. But I don't know how she killed it. She's not a local lawmaker, but that's a whole nother story. Murray was born in Jamaica and moved to the United States when she was 9. Murray, who was born in Jamaica and moved to the United States when she was 9, is officially launching her campaign Wednesday with an introductory video that takes sharp jabs at the 29-year-old Ocasio-Cortez. Your representative in Washington chooses self-promotion over service, conflict over constituents, resistance over assistance, Murray said in the video. Queens and the Bronx needs someone who will create jobs instead of turning them away. I think it's far, far to the left, and it's not connecting with everyday Americans. That's what you said. But here you were. Here you were. So when I say that, I want to talk about, when I look at like who she is and who she's become, what I say about it so interesting for me is that I am reminded of somebody else who was kind of a Democrat and who even sued and said, I'm being sued about racism. Racist threats. This is in 2008. Racist threats. This thing is written wrong. Racist threats case filed by Stanford High student settled for $37,500. Now, who was this? The lawsuit filed May accused the city of failing to act because of one of the causes. I don't want to read that part. The exact amount the Board of Education has paid the family of Candace Owens, now an 18-year-old Stanford High graduate, was made public yesterday after the advocate filed a Freedom of Information Act. Right? Now I'm going to get back to this because there are certain people who switch up, but the switch up is not necessarily just the problem. The switch up isn't just the problem. How you go from one thing one day to the other thing the other day, that's not totally the problem. The problem is, and here, follow me. The problem is what allows the switch up. How is that switch up possible? How is that sort of grifterism possible where you say that if you read the bottom of this, Murray says she was an alternative delegate at the Republican National Convention. She says she switched her party registration from Democrat to Republican when she learned that the Republican Party started an anti-slavery movement. How is it possible? How is it possible? Well, I'll tell you how it's possible. Let me tell you how it's possible. There are certain craze makers. I call them craze makers. Candace Owens is one of them. There's another one who we all know by name. Let me see if I can find him. This is the other one, Dinesh D'Souza. He's not only a crazy maker, I think he might be crazy, but the problem is something the reason this happens, and the reason it's so easy to happen, is because there are glaring hypocrisies within the Democratic Party. We already know about, when we talk about the squad, we already know about what Trump did, right? We already know about the racism, and we already know it didn't change Republican votes. We already know who he is. We already know who his strong 30% is. We already know where they stand. We already know that Mitch McConnell will get on TV and talk about how he don't owe nobody nothing, and then we come back and see that you descend from slave owners. We already know what you are, but you're not necessarily, you're liars, but not necessarily always hypocritical. Like, you know exactly what Trump gonna say. He gonna say what he gonna say, and whether it offends you or not, he don't care. Whether he's racist or not, he don't care. Very, very transparent. In terms of, like, you know exactly what you're going to get, because he don't care. And for, as quiet as it's kept, a lot of people in that top 2% or that top 10% don't really care. He's saying out loud what a lot of people say behind closed doors, but that's a whole nother topic. We already know what that looks like. What I'm telling you is the reason you have the Candace Owens and you have this Murray woman and you have these people who are able to switch like they switch is because of an inherent hypocrisy within the Democratic Party that has not been addressed. Well, what do you mean, Yvette? Well, we want to talk about Trump this week, right? We want to talk about the racism, and rightfully so. We should. We should have that conversation, called out all of that. But, like, are we forgetting what just happened? Ocasio-Cortez accuses Pelosi of singling out dim women of color. That just happened. Now, I know she tried to walk that back, but that just happened. And you didn't just single them out, Pelosi, because of a tweet. You singled them out because of their stance on this funding bill, right? So what you did, and let me tell you, there are a bunch of bills that are going to be voted on. You don't get to kind of single people out because of that. And people have a right to go on Twitter and say what they want to say. They represent their constituents, not just you. Things have changed. But see, what you're seeing is her trying to rein them in, and you didn't see Pelosi try to switch it up and say, "Well, I kind of apologize, and I didn't mean to be that way, and I didn't mean to be kind of like who I am or whatever." You didn't see that. As a matter of fact, you saw her double down. You saw her double down. She said, "I have no regrets about anything. I have no regrets about anything. Regrets is not what I do, gangbusters, baby. Regrets is not what I do. You better live with it. I don't do regrets." I don't be bothered with this. I tell you all where to sit and where to go. You don't get to represent your constituents in a way that makes sense to you. You don't get to be thoughtful people. You get to come here and then vote for what I tell you to vote for. That's what we were talking about before Trump. I'm not making any kind of false equivalency about which is better or which is wrong. What I'm telling you is that in order for us to have solidarity, the Democrats are going to have to deal with what's going on with the Democrats, because right now we got about 5 different parties within the Democratic tent. And you have Pelosi, who doesn't want to see a bunch of different people and a bunch of different constituencies represented. She wants you to come there and do what she says. What I'm telling you is that these are all reflections, whether you like it or not. Trump, Pelosi, different degrees with different impacts and different consequences. But these are all reflections of white America, and we're going to have to deal with that. We're going to have to deal with the hypocrisy within the party. There's no way to get around it. And if you don't deal with it, because it's not just Pelosi's hypocrisy. Understand that she is kind of a symptom of what is going on. It's not just her, though. We have a lot of people within the party, within the Democratic Party, who are not willing to be honest and get honest, right? So what do I mean? You'll have like Pelosi, and you'll have Bernie Sanders, you'll have Elizabeth Warren, you'll have all these people who are hypocritical. You want to talk all day about being anti-black, but you don't want to support reparations. But wait a minute, you'll support every other big ticket item. Well, you don't care whether it's somebody says, I want Medicare for all. Hell yeah, right now. We don't care. Throw the baby out. We'll pay for everything. Whatever you need. Whatever you got it, we need it. Elizabeth Warren said, I got a plan for that. You got a plan for everything except reparations. I need a plan for that. And I gave, let me understand something. I gave Elizabeth Warren her credit. When she came out and her initial video was about redlining, I gave her credit for that. You all remember, I'm not saying anything untoward. I gave her a lot of credit. I said, this is good. She's starting with race. And she had a plan that had some problems, but it could have been tweaked because it just kind of like the Kamala Harris plan that she kind of took, and which was kind of the dad and the Demos plan, and kind of crafted and made it her own. It just dealt with redlining people who were living in red line districts, but not the people who were affected necessarily by redlining. So it was open to gentrification. But I gave her credit for that. But you gotta have you can't say you have a plan for everything. You get cancellation. We're gonna count. Nobody pays student loans. All your student debt cancel. Everything. Money, 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 money. Passing out money, money, money. But when we talk about us, you got a problem. See, there's a hypocrisy. And see what happens when you have that kind of hypocrisy within a party. What happens is people like Candace Owens and people like Dinesh D'Souza, they exploit your own hypocrisy. So they drive you crazy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if, let's say, you want to say, well, 90% Yvette or 80%, or depending on what you like, is 90% or 80% of what they say is absolutely wrong. Yeah, but that 10% itches you, don't it? Or that 20% or whatever it is, that itches you because that's true. That bit is true. So Candace Owens went to the border. I mean, went to a shoot and did this whole little stagecraft thing and showed that, like, look, AOC, you want to cry at the border, but nobody's crying for the violence that's been inflicted upon ADOS people. Candace Owens is mostly wrong, but she needled you because you know she's right on that part. That part. So that's what I'm saying. You have to understand that. And understand that supporting HR 40 isn't supporting reparations. We have a number out there. Dr. Darity has a number out there. It's hiding from it because it says nothing. It's a commitment to nothing, not even an apology. Why isn't an apology on the first line? So you can't even just hide behind HR 40. I understand how that came into being because that's what Ta-Nehisi Coates said. Well, at least study HR 40. What we know now is that doesn't go far enough. What we know now is HR 40 doesn't go far enough. There's a lot of stuff that we know now. After you do the work, there's a lot of stuff that you know now that you might not have known then. And that's okay. But when you know better, you what? You do better. So what I'm saying is this. And it's not just, let me just be clear, because I don't want it to seem like I'm harping on this particular immigrant, because there's another one. And this brings to mind something else, like like Murray is a Jamaican immigrant. But this woman right here, who's also running against AOC, is an Egyptian immigrant or a descendant of Egyptian immigrants. Let me look and see. The daughter of Egyptian immigrants right here. Papazian is the daughter of Egyptian immigrants who currently lives with her widowed mother, has accused the headline-making freshman representative of never responding to concerned people in the district who have serious questions about her unrealistic and unworkable policies, and claims that she has mostly unstaffed office in Queens, and when constituents call her office in D.C. To ask for help, they get phone recordings with full message boxes. That's what she's saying. But here's my problem. Let me tell you what my problem is. Let me tell you what part of my problem is about the Democratic coalition, especially the Democratic coalition in general, as we talked about Pelosi. But let me just tell you about what my problem is in terms of the black contingent of the Democratic coalition. Like the Pan-Africanists who chase me around Twitter. I won't even say you chasing me because I ain't running. But the ones who just kind of run behind me on the web and say, Yvette, this is not solidarity. Yvette, what are you doing? You know, this is the Egypt y'all talk about. You know, Egypt, Kemet, or whatever y'all be saying. This is the Egypt, and she's a Republican running against AOC, the progressive firebrand of the left. Understand that you don't even want if you support her, you don't even want her to like have to do a lot in terms of campaigning. Understand if you agree, I don't care whether you are Egyptology or whether you are Pan-Africanist, Egypt, Africa. I don't care what you are. Why don't you come out against these people when it's time to talk solidarity? Why do you just chase me around the web? Like when it's time to talk about who is not adhering to the bonds of solidarity, and this is Yvette, this is divisive. What are you doing? This is divisive. It's divisive for you to say that ADOS have a justice claim. Who do you are? And what do you think you're doing in this space? You're just ill-informed. Well, why don't you go after these people? And you can say like, well, they're Republican, they don't matter. No. Because they lead to something very particular. They lead to stuff like this. They lead to these kinds of tweets, which are very diminishing of ADOS. They lead to these kinds of tweets. They lead to tweets which are kind of like, tools of white supremacy. Because you don't have to be white to be a tool of white supremacy. You can be a tool. Nigerian Americans are the most successful ethnic group in the U.S. If you want to know how it's possible that blacks who come from underdeveloped Africa keep outperforming blacks from overprivileged America, it's because they weren't exposed to Democrat parasite of victimhood. Right? This is not solidarity. We have a lot of black immigrant allies, but this ain't one of them. And if you don't check these people, the people who chase me around Twitter, if you don't check these people, and I'm talking specifically, if you're in my comments right now and you're a black immigrant, you don't need to hear this because you already do it. I'm talking specifically to the people who talk about all this stuff and who don't check these people. Today I am studying why Caribbean immigrants far surpass black Americans in terms of economic success. If America awards success based on skin color, this wouldn't be possible. Blah, 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 blah. I'm proud. I'm of St. Thomas descent. Very proud. Very proud. Right? Even the left. I don't care whether even the white left, like y'all are real scared. Like y'all won't call this out. Like you'll call me out, but you won't call this out, especially early on. So you have to call it out early on. And these are your people. I'm talking about my black immigrant people. These are your people. You got to check these people. You out of solidarity. Not out of solidarity. That's not solidarity talking. You got to check them early because you got people all in the comments who agree, who are saying stuff. We got to talk about it. Caribbean people don't get handouts. They know they have to make moves in order to succeed and eat. American blacks believe America owes them. So they beg and yell for what they want. And they tell their kids to do the same. This is what happens when you go around the web and the only person you check is me. Let me just say this. Solidarity is not just about melanin. Solidarity is not just about, people, you're all from African descent. Solidarity is not about just being non-white or whatever that means. That's not solidarity. There have to be shared values. There has to be shared ideology. There has to be a sense of justice. There has to be a sense of respecting the other group. There has to be all of that. And you have this strain of conservatism that nobody wants to check. This is a problem. And if I had ever come on here and said that, everybody everywhere would roast me. And the fact that we're old of debt. The fact that you don't know that means you're ignorant of history. What do I always say about every immigrant that comes here? You need a bunch of books. about the contribution of ADOS in America and what we're owed. You don't know enough to talk about who we are. We're yelling because of a debt and multi-generational oppression that you haven't experienced. And we paved a way for you to be here. You wouldn't be here were it not for our struggles. You wouldn't be here as a black person were it not for the way that we paved. And there's probably a reason why you're not home. Why aren't you home? I have a clue, because in order to succeed, you need capital. And you need a bunch of capital and corporations who can bring you on and hire you and do stuff for you. You don't have enough of that where you're from. And we fought for you and everybody else to have access to that. Like, we deserve better than that. We deserve better than you. And the only way we get better is by educating people and by holding them accountable. You don't get better by chasing me around the internet and just leaving everybody else alone when they say this. In the name of solidarity, you're supposed to go chase behind them, Dr. Carr. You're supposed to go chase behind them, Mr. Winbush. You're supposed to go chase behind all these people and say, it's just that's not solidarity. Because all we're asking for, all we're saying, if in case you're new here, is that we have a specific justice claim. I'm not saying that nobody else does. Nobody has a problem, and I don't have a problem when Native Americans say they have a specific justice claim. Nobody has an issue with it until we say it. And then when we say it, it's characterized as, oh my God, these people are begging and wanting stuff and wanting free stuff like I'm not them. And so that becomes the mantra. The mantra becomes, I'm not those ADOS people. But then when you file applications for affirmative action and stuff, there's no way for you to like highlight that and say, I'm not those ADOS people. And it comes from every which direction. Just curious. Is it an attitude of entrepreneurship and education and the view of America as a land of opportunity versus oppression? Well, how would you know? You're not ADOS. How would you know? Like, what books have you read? What do you know of the ADOS experience to be speaking like this? And if Pan-African has chased you around the World Wide Web, I bet you wouldn't say it. But let me just tell you, these people punch down, or who they perceive is down. They don't punch up. I don't want to get in trouble with them folks over there. Them people, no. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And we saw all of this. We saw all of this come out. And what I'm saying is that, listen, if you could see this coming out of Rush Limbaugh's mouth, then maybe it's a problem for your democratic, liberal, leftist politics. And maybe you should challenge it. Maybe you should challenge it. So what I'm saying is, the crazy makers are the crazy makers for a very specific reason. Because they reveal like a degree of duplicity. And it's right ground. It creates a great space for like shapeshifters and grifters and other people. And Democrats have to get their house in order. Democrats have to get their house in order. And the only way you really do that, the only way you get your house in order in terms of us, you really have to do right by us. And I'm talking about when you do right by ADOS, you can't just kind of skirt around it. Dinesh D'Souza's wrong on everything he said. He made up a whole theory about Obama was trying to get back and he was a socialist. The majority of everything he's ever said has been proven wrong. But when you see something like this, you see like there's a grain of truth, and that grain is a problem. But you can get rid of that grain if you just do right. You can get rid of that grain if you expunge yourself of this racism within the party. And it's not just Pelosi. Like, we're not just talking about Pelosi regarding AOC. We're not just talking about Candace Owens. We're not just talking about those things. We're talking about a whole industry of duplicity that exists. And let me see if I can get this next one. It's a problem. How many people did you all see? Gosh, there were a bunch of here they go. These GOP women. These GOP women who were who were saying that they still support Trump. See, the dishonesty is that those women can still claim affirmative action. It's another kind of duplicity. Now, see, Republicans don't have anything to do with that because they're not in favor of affirmative action anyway. Why don't you do the right thing and say, listen, half of these white women voted for Trump. Like, this right here is just it's supposed to like repay. It's supposed to give back something that was taken. That's not for you. How do you get to co-sign white supremacy and then get a special designation for minorities? This is what I'm just talking about. All the duplicities that exist. This is what people point to, and this is what grates at people. This is what gets the Democratic Party so infuriated. This is why you can't get rid of the grifters. You can't get rid of Dinesh D'Souza until you get honest about who this party is and what this party has to change. That doesn't mean you won't always have charlatans, but you won't always have charlatans who exist for this long and who needle you this bad. Take away all the bullets. Take away all the ammunition that they have. You haven't done the work. Everybody wants solidarity, but nobody wants to do the work of solidarity. Everybody wants solidarity, but nobody wants to do the work of solidarity. And increasingly, the work of solidarity is doing right by ADOS. Because what they needle you on half the time is like, Candace Owens needles you on the fact that she's ADOS. What can you say? What you gonna do? You gonna barbecue a mildew? And that you really are kind of being disrespectful. Republican Party is one or two parties. You can't say that you can't be there. So what that really goes to is that you really have kind of been treating ADOS with a disrespect in terms of our intellectual aptitude and capacity. And you've been leaning on us and using us as mules for the party. Well, just stop doing that. Just give us a black agenda. Give us reparations. Support reparations. Fold it into your agenda. It's easy to do. You done folded up everything else. You folded up everything else. Why can't you fold that in? Right? What's the problem? I don't understand what the problem is. I don't understand. AOC complains about Pelosi Barb's cites death threats. I'm sure. A lot of things happen. Listen, when a party is dishonest with itself and what it's doing to ADOS, like there has to be the thing that's happening. Let me speak. The thing that's happening is there has to be like a reckoning, and we haven't dealt with the reckoning. We haven't dealt with the reckoning. There's a reckoning. And the reckoning is us. We're the group that you haven't dealt with. It says, I'm a Caribbean immigrant and I know why. We are conservative by nature. Now the woman who's running against AOC is a conservative. We are conservative by nature. We don't believe we are victims. And hard work and we don't believe we are victims and hard work to achieve in life. What? We don't believe we are victims and hard work to achieve. You mean work hard? Okay. Dominican here. Myself and siblings are all professionals. This could have come from Sean Hannity. This could have come from Rush Limbaugh. This could have come from anybody. But it came from him. And we have to be honest about people and their politics. We have to be honest about how people and their politics impact our politics. If what your politics is and who you are is disrespectful of ADOS, if it diminishes our justice claim, if it diminishes our contribution to the country that you moved to get a better life, if it diminishes, if you don't know that we built this country not only with our labor, but what we were worth in terms of capital. If you haven't read, the half has never been told. Like, or if you haven't, when affirmative action was why, if you haven't read that and your people weren't here, then I don't really know what we're having a conversation about. And I need some accountability there, because that's who gets in that space and says, I'm not like these other Negroes. I'm different. I don't want a handout. And that's a kind of complacency. That's a kind of buttering up to white supremacy. And it's a problem. And it's a problem largely because we don't want to call it out, and the Democratic Party doesn't want to deal with it. Nobody wants to deal with all of the hypocrisies that exist within the Democratic Party. Nobody wants to deal with that. And you have to deal with that. And the best way to begin to deal with that is to do right by ADOS. And you haven't. And one thing that I'll give the squad, they know it. They know you playing games. They know your district, San Fran. What's happened to ADOS people in San Fran, Pelosi? You want to talk about how we can't afford to do anything there? You want to talk about the wealth there? You want to talk about your personal wealth? A lot of conversations have to be had. A lot of conversations have to be had. Candace Owens was what? Born in, you speak to the civil rights struggle. She was born in what? Like 89, and the lady who's running against AOC came here at 9. You weren't here, and you don't have ancestors who were here. You don't have family who were here during that struggle. You know nothing of it. You know nothing of sharecropping. You know nothing of American chattel slavery plantation life. You know nothing of slave rebellions. You know nothing of rebellions. You don't know you don't know the Red Summer. You don't know any of that. You just come here and start talking. And the reason you can do that is because of all of the hypocrisies, and so many of the hypocrisies that exist within the Democratic Party, right? And you can use that as a grift. You can go over here and grift and needle the Democratic Party as a black person because you look just like ADOS people. So you can grift over here. But you didn't get checked. And one of the things that I call on Pan-Africans in terms of solidarity or the black immigrants, you got to start checking these people early when they say stuff that you know ain't right. When they say stuff that you know is offensive. When they say stuff that you know isn't true. You can't sit there and be like, well, you got a point. Because that Christian is going to go bigger. And then the Democratic Party on the other side has work to do, because the Democratic Party has to deal with this hypocrisies. Because when Candace Owens goes over here and start talking about the shootings in Chicago or whatever, how America doesn't care and how Democrats doesn't care, you let her be right. She's right, but she shouldn't be right. And if you did right by her, she wouldn't be right. You're giving her all the cards that she has to play. All of the real cards. All them other cards don't count. They wrong. The cards that she play that really needle at you, those are real cards. And you're giving them to her. But you can take them away. Just do right by ADOS and all the cards are finished. All the cards are off the table. Check your own parents. Check your own grandparents. That's part of the work of solidarity. Not my fault. That's part of the work of solidarity. The work of solidarity is you got to check your people. You can't be one place in your house and then another place over here. Check your people. That's part of the work of solidarity. Democratic Party. No. Nancy Pelosi doesn't get to just check the squad. That's 4 people because of a vote. You just check them. No. You don't get to be Joe Biden and have Strom Thurmond, and have buddied up to him for decades. When you was trying to just get the white supremacist vote, or when you were trying to get the racist vote. You don't get to do that, Biden. No. That's part of the work of solidarity. You can't be a candidate. Part of the work of solidarity is why Hillary Clinton is not president. I'm sorry. Y'all ran the wrong one. She's the super predator. No. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do this whole anti-black run out because it's good for your votes, then come back around and say you for us. No. It's part of the work of solidarity. It is what it is. You don't get to lie. You don't get to do this. Remember this article? And Obama said something you wouldn't even think he would say. You don't get to act like this never happened. Who said we'll need, this was Obama talking, we'll need to reduce the inflow of low-skilled immigration. That same year, a Democratic senator wrote, when I see Mexican flags waved at pro-immigration demonstrations, I sometimes feel a flush of patriotic resentment. When I'm forced to use a translator to communicate with the guy fixing my car, I feel a certain frustration. That was Obama. You don't get to come around here and then accuse everybody with a different point of view of xenophobia. You don't get to do that. Everybody knows that you're lying. And that's the problem with the Democratic Party. There are no principles. Like, it's almost as if, like, so many of the principles of the Republican Party are wrong. And then Democrats be over here just lying. And, like, Democrats need to figure out, what do you believe in? Is this a cohesive party? Do you believe in something? Or do you believe in something right now because it's popular that you didn't believe in 2000 and 2009, but ain't nothing changed? You need to figure out who you are and what you believe in, and you need to do right by ADOS. That is a start, because right now it's just a whole bunch of people up under a tent. And I'm sorry, that's not how you beat Trump. We just got to beat Trump. You don't beat Trump with this stuff you pulling off. That's not it. There's a lot of stuff that's it, but this ain't it. And in a lot of ways, in terms of the core and what his core 30%, Trump's people, he understands them better than you do. This is not how you do it. Democratic Party, it's time for a reckoning. It's time for a reckoning. All this duplicity, all this stuff has got to go. All this you doing one thing and Pelosi talking this. Well, oh my God, that was racist what Trump did. And you just did the squad the way you just did them. You don't get to do that. You don't get to give ammunition to the right. You don't get to do that. You get to do right by people. You get to hold people accountable the same way, even with activists and everybody else. You do it how you do it. But there's a lot of stuff that has to change within this group. We have to have a shared view, a shared ideology. We have to believe in the same things. And if you believe in fairness and what's supposed to happen, if you believe in paying the debts that are owed, you believe in reparations, a lot of stuff has to change. And I'm going to tell you, you don't beat Trump if that stuff don't change. It just won't happen. That's not how you do it. You don't get it by running around here talking about, oh my God, he got to be impeached. No, you offer up a true ideal of what we believe, aspiration for the future. Justice has to be at the core of what you do. But I'm going to tell you, this ain't it. This ain't it. Fam, I told you we were going to try to get out of here a little bit early. Because we got in here a little late. So now is the time, fam. So I'm going to go set the phones up, come back and hear what you got to say about the squad and Pelosi and duplicity and how we kind of reform the Democratic Party. Like, if, I know we got Republican watchers and viewers and everything else, but I'm saying, like, if you want, like, and I always believe that part of the reason that we have, I'm not saying that black people aren't just Republican, but I believe part of the frustration and part of the reason people opt to be Republicans is because Democrats tend to be so duplicitous and act like what it ain't what it is. So I just want to hear from you, hear what you had to say, and then we'll have a conversation. What is going on, fam? What is going on? We are back. So I am going to the phones. Let me know what you think about the party. Can it be reformed? What is it going to take? What are the steps? And let me just say this before I forget. Friday, Tone Talks on his show, Friday, 7 p.m. PST, Pacific Standard. He's going to have Dash Radio. He's going to have Killer Mike on. So tune in to that. I will probably be in the chat. So tune in to that on Friday. Going to 219. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing, Del Campbell? This is my second time calling you.
What's going on?
Calling from Gary, Indiana. Me and my wife are so mad that we're not going to be able to go down to see the event down in Kentucky. I tell you.
You'll be there in spirit.
That I just can't do it. But regarding what we're talking about tonight, you know, it's really kind of been bugging me because as I started hearing this whole turn up about the squad and Trump, and the only thing I kept thinking about is what does this have to do with me? What does this have to do with our issues? What does this have to do with Gary, Indiana? Nothing. So why are people trying to make this become the thing that I'm supposed to get fixated on? Those women ain't saying nothing that has anything to do with me and whether Trump sends them back, doesn't send them back, whether they impeach Trump, don't impeach Trump. You know what? Our life is going, we still have the same issue regardless of what they do in D.C. And so, quite frankly, I'm finding myself more and more wondering, why should I expend any energy on this soap opera in the White House?
Well, you know what, caller? I say one thing. This is one thing. I like to give people credit where credit was due. They asked Ayanna Pressley, and I'm not saying I agree with her on everything, immigration. You know we don't. But they asked her, like, well, what's your view on the controversy? On the controversy with AOC and Pelosi, and she said 14 people were shot in my district or whatever. 14 people shot in my district, I think she said. 14 people were shot, and I'm focused on that. I think, see, honestly, like across the board though, see, we try to weave and web. I think across the board that has to be our answer. Like if you want my antidote, and people will say, well, you know, if you do that, you're not gonna get to be able to move in politics. Well, what good does it to move on Capitol Hill if what you get passed ain't worth nothing by the time you get finished with it because you had to make so many concessions? I think you have to say, like, my people are so bad off, I ain't got time to deal with what you're talking about. Now, I know that's not her view all the time, but I think ADOS politicians have to get accustomed to saying, my people in Flint ain't got no drinking water. Like, what do you think about Trump? My people in Flint ain't got no drinking water. Well, what do you think about, or wherever you're from? I'm not saying that Flint has a black. I'm talking about wherever you're from, wherever your people are dealing with. My people ain't got plumbing. There's sewage in the backyard. And just like ask you a question about something totally different, and you just fly off. But go on, Carl. I'm sorry. Finish up your thought because I know you say you don't want to be involved at all. You about tired.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about. Because everybody else, all them other folks, they gonna get theirs. You know, they call this AOC lady a person of color. When I was growing up, she was a white lady. She was a white, what? I can't remember which comedian was. Richard Patrick was. She was a white lady with a taco. Now all of a sudden, it's convenient for them to be, quote, people of color. But when it's not convenient for that, then they'll go back to what they were before. And we'll still be where we are, as you say all the time. And so now, for me, at one time maybe it was about political parties, but not now. It's about we have our issues, we have a justice claim, and until they do right by us, I don't care what party they with. I don't care whether they ride a donkey, an elephant, a mule, a dog. I don't care. All I care about is y'all owe us. And until y'all do right by us, don't come talk to us about nothing else. Because I ain't hearing nothing from you until you do right by us. Get right by everybody else. Do right by us.
Yeah,
I hope that you all will live stream the event or have it available on on YouTube or something. Because otherwise, next time me and Lanita are down in Atlanta, we just gonna have to have lunch or dinner or something.
I hear you, fam. I hear you. All right, I appreciate you.
Come to Gary sometime.
What you say, Gary, Indiana? What'd you say? I never been there. Never been there.
You've always got a welcome spot here.
I appreciate you, fam. I appreciate it. I sure. And if I roll through, I gotta find you. I gotta find you. But I have never been there. That's one place I have never been in my life.
Hey, do you ever see Talita sometime?
To who?
Talita McKeachin, because she lives in your area too.
You know what? We communicate on Facebook, but no, I never seen her in person. Yeah, and she's conservative. Well, was I don't know if she still is. I can't talk about what people are today.
Well, bless you, sis, and we support you, and we pray for you, and we encourage you, and we with you.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And let me just say, what was I going to say? I lost my thought. I hate when that happens. Oh, I was going to say that, like, you can't do the whole where we're just going to go along to get along thing. It's kind of like how people talk about how business work, but that ain't how business work. And they be like, well, you just got to go on. Like, no, that's not how it works. You have to advocate. Like, pressure busts pipes. And politicians respond to pressure, not applause. You don't get it by just, well, you got to play the game. No. There have to be people in that space, surely, to make deals. But, like, they have to advocate. Because you don't get anything if you don't advocate. If you just kind of do what Pelosi says do. And so this is one place where I kind of, have some respect for the squad. Because you're going outside of that. That hasn't been working. And it is a shame, but it hasn't. Anyway, I'm going to 310. What's going on?
What up? This Stone Talks. Yeah, man. I didn't plan on calling in. Last caller kind of made me want to call in because I think he represents a cross section of Black America in the sense that I don't know if I did a video this week on wealth and I tried to explain to y'all don't have no money. Y'all don't have no wealth. Y'all have no money, but y'all want a lot of life. And so where we're at now is, I think that you don't understand. It's not your choice whether you worry about this White House. It's your responsibility because you got kids. You brought them in this world. Now you got to figure it out. And I'm not saying that you're gonna win, but I'm saying at the end of the day, see, like if me and Yvette don't even have children, if we would have took the role, and I'm not saying that this is fully what that guy was saying, but this is the people vacillate between. I'm just not going to be involved with none of it. That soap opera to, we need to just worry about our own issues. But behind all of it, to me, this is me just speaking for me. I don't want to do this shit. I don't want to do this work. And so, like, I just realized that I think that if me and Yvette had taken that stance, I firmly know that, or believe, I should say, that there would be no discussion of a Black agenda. There would be no discussion of reparations for sure. And basically, Black America would still not know that Black America is poor. And you can ask yourself whether you understood that Black America was poor before I started doing video. And you just got to be honest with yourself. Now, I come back to it because I heard kids in the background. Like, you don't get to have kids and not care about the politics. And then somebody could say he wasn't saying that, but he was. He was and he wasn't. We got to figure out what we going to be about. What we going to stand for. Because at the end of it all, if you ain't pushing for what Yvette said in your community, at your local board members, at your school board, at your national level, it ain't going to get heard. Because what's happened with ADOS is our issues are not naturally on the table. What do I mean? So if you're a Mexican immigrant, they're already talking about your stuff. So you can kind of just sit back and then just pop in, but they making your stuff the center because of a whole agenda that involves corporate interests. That ain't even involving the people that you've in front of the Senate. We don't even understand that. That this is about economics that goes beyond whether we care about the border and the people on the border. And I say all this just to say, I think where we're at right now, and I come back to even Candace Owens and the Jamaican woman that's running against all these people came like either were born in the late '80s or came here in the mid '80s. And now what they've told us is that nothing happened before that. That's what those tweets basically said. Nothing happened before 1985 in America. And I don't understand how we got here other than, and I'm not putting all of it on the last caller, but this belief that you can separate yourself from the realities of what was going on in the White House because of the channel you decided to watch. And because of the fact that you don't want to watch C-SPAN. Watch C-SPAN instead of watching CNN or MSNBC. What channel you watching? Turn to another channel. But C-SPAN too boring, right? Even it's too boring to watch it that way.
Not for me.
So I want to watch it in a. No, I'm just saying. Generally, this is what happens for Americans, not just the last caller at large. We find a lens to make it interesting for ourselves, and then get mad at the lens and blame the lens like that's politics at large. And one thing I can commend ADOS for introducing, and this goes beyond even me and Yvette. When y'all went down to the hall for the HR 40 hearing, y'all in the halls there early in the morning, letting your presence be known, and that's what has to happen at this moment. I come back to what I was saying to you in my video. When you look at white wealth, it looks the same because of the unevenness. Yeah, their top 10% has 75% of their wealth, but they're splitting almost $100 trillion. So even beyond the top 75%, you're still looking at $25, $22 trillion, somewhere between that. Whereas black folks, we're just splitting $3 trillion, and the top 10%, 2.25 of it. So the bottom 90%, which is all of our working age families, all of them, bar the ones that are hooked to a boomer, y'all don't have enough to be here. Y'all don't have, I'm telling you, absolutely, I'm definitely sure you don't have enough wealth to be here unless a boomer is leaving you inheritance. And when I say inheritance in America, I think a good bottom-based sum that you need to be receiving from your parent or your grandparent is $250,000 to actually propel yourself into the American dream. 2 kids, relatively stable living, where you're not struggling. Barely none of y'all have that. But because all of y'all don't have that, you don't even know it. And this is cleaning up our politics to understand that you shouldn't be in this position because you're Adolf. How does a candidate take us, and I'll leave it at this. There was a whole little meeting where Elizabeth Warren sat with some black girls. They all looked like they were college educated. Nobody knew nothing in the room. Little girl, we went in the thread, Adolf, shout out. She started calling us all kind of names because she don't know nothing. She said her name is Feminista or something, the lady that took the video.
Okay.
Understand, at the end of the day, each percentile, if black people were 100%, each percentile of black people is about $30 billion. That's it. There's 20 million families, 200,000 per percent. Each percent is about 30 billion. White folks have 83 million homes. Each percent, 800,000 families. More families, only like so many phones. But that whole set, each percent, is worth almost $1 trillion. The question becomes, how do you take us from 30 billion to around 200 billion per percent? 30 billion to around 200 billion. How do you close a real gap? The housing plan don't do that. The college debt plan don't do that. The only thing that does that is reparations. And I'm telling you, the last thing I'll say to the caller is keep watching the shows, but at the same time, you can't stop watching the politics because the politics is your life. I'll leave it at that.
Appreciate it, Tone. The politics is your life. The politics is your life. And let me just say this. I think I did this one time years ago, like in 2017, but it may be time to do it again. Like Antonio talked about C-SPAN. But the one great thing about the era that we're in is that there are a lot of great podcasts. And one of the podcasts that I'll just, or just whatever you want to call it, interview shows, whatever, but they're podcasts. You can get them on Cast, or I don't know what else, but that's where I get my podcast from. That's how I download mine. New books in African American history is good in terms of the books they have, and you can figure out whether or not you want to read it. CASTS, Cast, that's the little app I use. It's a paid app though to download my podcast. But one day I think I'm going to do, I have probably about 25 podcasts. But one day I'm going to do a top like 10 podcasts again. I did that a long time ago. Since then, I think I've added a lot. and a lot of podcasts have gotten really do history. That was a great one. There are a couple of great real history podcasts. So one day that'll be a quick hit. I don't know. But one day I think I need to do that again, because that's kind of an entertaining way. It's more entertaining than a lot of other ways to get it in it. And sometimes, there's slant, but like sometimes you get to really, like with New Books in African American History, shout out to them, you really get to hear the author and what the author says, and kind of feel out, you get what the book is about and what the theme is and what they're telling you in the book, and you get to decide whether or not you want to go deeper. That, and I may do a quick hit at some point with like my absolute favorite, like top 10 podcast. So I'm going right now to 714. 714, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello?
Hey, 714, what's going on?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. What's up?
Good. I'm calling about immigration. This is my first time. My brother told me about your show. I'm originally from California, South Central, moved into Orange County, California.
Okay.
And I have a lot of mixed feelings about immigration. But what I wanted to say is what I see personally and up close. What I don't understand about especially African Americans or black folks or African descendants of slavery, what I don't understand is why they are not for some type of regulating immigration, especially illegal immigration. I'm all for immigration if folks come over here correctly. But when they do not, and these same individuals, and I'm talking specifically about some of our Asian folks and Latinos, they're also racist as well. And why is it okay to come here illegally, but if I went and, let's say, took possession of someone's home illegally, I'm not afforded that home. But you can come to the States or to America illegally and get things from our government, and it's okay. That's what I don't understand.
Well, okay, Carla. I think there are diverse views amongst ADOS. I don't think like I'm talking about just this group. I'm not talking about ADOS in general. Like ADOS in general, I think are very pro-immigration because we're kind of very pro-Democratic Party as opposed to. And the thing is, there's punishment for like having a view of your own. I don't tend to think of it the way that you think of it. I tend to think of it in terms of like citizenship matters. Like the thing is like there was a poll in the Washington Post this morning that said that the majority, like they did a poll of like they did a poll in Mexico. I don't know whether it was one city or the country, and they found that like 55% of Mexicans agreed that Central Americans who go through their country to come to the U.S. illegally should be deported, right? And only 6% of them thought that the Central Americans who came to Mexico should be citizens. Now, what I will say to that is you can't say that that's racism because those are both brown people. You have to kind of sit back and say there's something else going on here. And one of many things that's going on, at least to me, is that people are in a world of dwindling resource and dwindling opportunities, people are valuing citizenship more and saying that my citizenship should matter and I'm not just going to give it away. And I need this in terms of the hierarchy of distribution of resources. I need it to actually to kind of matter. So thanks, Carl. I'm gonna let you go. But I just want to say that like it's a complicated issue. Like immigration is a complicated issue. But we've kind of relegated it to the place to where if you say anything other than like, if you even try to say, well, what are the limitations going to be? Well, what are the keys to who should come here? What is the criteria? If you even try to broach the conversation now, you're immediately maligned as anti-immigrant, xenophobic, or whatever. And so, that is a problem in terms of us having the discussion that we're having. You should be able to have a discussion, and if you don't win the debate, you don't win the debate. And if somebody says, well, I'm going to do it this way because of this, then that's okay. I get it. You made a better argument than me. But we're in this space now where we can't even have the discussion. We can't even have the conversation. And so what ends up happening is the only people who are really having the conversation end up being racist. And so you have racists leading the immigration debate. And so that's where we are now. Because you've taken all non-racists out of the debate. You've taken all non-racists out of the conversation, left it to racists and say, oh my God, these people are racist. Well, yeah, because you told everybody else we're going to shun you and say bad things about you if you try to have the conversation. So it's an interesting thing. But I think there are a diverse amount of views. I'm going to 216. I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Did you say 216?
Yeah, I hear you. What's going on, bro?
Oh, okay. How you doing? How you doing, Yvette? Nice to speak with you finally.
Good.
To begin, I want to piggyback a little bit on what the other caller said. What she brought up about illegal immigration, and the fact that she doesn't understand, and I don't either, how black people can really be for illegal or illegal immigration. And I would argue that both of them hurt our community. And I would say this. The reason that we don't have the doctors that we're supposed to have in our community, the reason we don't have the nurses, the teachers, and all that is because we have all these people that are coming from other places and are taking those positions. And therefore, America doesn't have the incentive to invest in its native population because they can just take off the top of these other immigrant groups. So legal and illegal immigration hurts the black community. And if we go back to Booker T. Washington told the Southerners of his day, to cast down your buckets where you are and to not look for people from foreign shores to come here and do the work. That the people who you should look to are the people who've been doing the work for you all their lives. So from Booker T. Washington to Coretta Scott King and Julio Cesar Chavez, who in the 80s was saying that this illegal immigration was hurting low-wage skilled workers. We have the studies. So what we need to do is we need to go to the party and say, we are being hurt by legal and illegal immigration. If you have our best interest in mind, you have to look at these numbers. You have to look at these studies.
Well,
we don't have. Go ahead.
No. I thought you were pausing. I'm sorry, Colin. But there was a nursing shortage in the 70s, right? And instead of like training ADOS, and at that time ADOS women, to be nurses, they imported nurses, right? You see a lot of that from Haiti and other places. They imported nurses here instead of like training ADOS women to be nurses. And I don't think we really understand what the difference that makes in our lives. The difference that makes in our lives is, think about what's the difference between having a nurse and a nurse income. A mother with a nurse income versus a mother who works at CVS or Walmart or who, barely there's a very, middle, median income, 1700, middle black family. Like that's the whole family though, not just one person. Understand the difference that makes in your life in terms of having a literate person as a parent, as opposed to an illiterate person. Like if you train these people, if you train these women to be nurses, see, that's what people don't understand. Nobody understands the difference that would have made. Everybody says, well, that's just what it is, and they're not taking nothing out of me. No. Like if you train us, you left our people on sharecropper farms. And you left out people picking oranges, like 70. You left out people doing all that stuff, but you imported like this labor instead of training us. And that's what it means when we talked about that we're locked out. And it's also another thing I'll say about teachers, though. It's not just that. We forget that after the integration of schools and stuff, we forget that summarily how many black teachers were fired. Black teachers were just taken off the board. Black teachers were fired and made like substitutes and stuff and taken off, and you put like these black kids in these rooms with these hostile white teachers, and what ended up there. So I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying like there are a lot of factors here, but you're certainly right in terms of what could have been, and nobody really understands. Nobody really understands that. And nobody really understands when you talk about middle black family 1700, that's without clothes, that's without car, depreciating assets and all of that. But we don't really understand. One of the things that I like to do is go back and be like, what could have happened? What could have been different here? And you see what America did and how America locked us out. There's so many times in American history where we had the opportunity. America had the opportunity to make us whole and bring us up and provide us with upward mobility, and did a whole bunch of things instead of that. And then that included like importation of labor and importation of skilled labor and unskilled, as opposed to just putting us in those positions. I'm going to let you finish up, fam.
Okay, well, what I also want to say is to your topic tonight We're talking about AOC and the squad and the head of the Democratic Party and all that. And the problem is that the party doesn't have a commitment to its core constituency, which is African American. It doesn't have that. And it's not going to have it because they feel that we're expendable, or they're trying to make us expendable. They're trying so hard to get these illegal immigrants in because they know we're going to be leaving the party pretty soon. And they want to make sure they still have a secure voting right where they can get elected. So really what I think the problem, what ADS needs to do right now, is we need to be talking about what does reparations mean for us? What does it mean? What does it look like? Because I don't think we should wait until October to do that. People need to come in and chime in with their ideas because right now, if somebody's like, okay, we're going to give you reparations, we still don't know what we're talking about.
We have an idea of what the number is, right? And we have an idea of what has to happen in terms of redistribution. Like, we have an idea in terms of...
Hold on, Zach. You say we have an idea. How do we have an idea when we haven't put that number out to people?
We have
not had a discussion about what the number
we have put the number out. No, Dr. Darity has put a number out. It's not an exact science. So we can't do it that way. But because part of it depends on who's going to be locked in and who's going to be locked out. Now we have a criteria for that, and we have put the number out, right? It's probably going to be around 17 trillion. Like we have that number, and we've put it out there. Like 40 Acres and a Mule in the 21st Century and other stuff by Darren, and we've discussed this on the show. So we have put it out what this is going to look like. We have said that has to be ownership, not just giving us money to consume and give that money back. So we have provided a lot of the framework for that. Now I'm not saying that you don't, but the thing is, what has to happen? You really want to see it? It has to get done. Like, we know what the number is going to be in terms of this range. It's going to be around 17. Maybe lower. It may be lower. Fine. But you have to, there's no way to talk about it without understanding that this is going to be, that's a really big number. But the number is what it is. And it has to include.
No, but is that you've already concretized that number. Now, what I would submit to you is that the ADS audience, we really have, as an audience, I think we need to chime in on that number. What is recompense really going to look like? And Dr. Darity is not enough. Other people have ideas about.
Hold on. Wait. Nobody said that you can't bring your ideas. Like, who has ever said that, you don't get to have input? Nobody's ever said that.
It looks like that to me. You gotta
tell me. No, you can't tell me it looks like that to me. Tell me where you have been excluded from this conversation.
If you allow me to finish, then I can tell you why I say that. When you come on and you talk about it's 5 to 10 trillion, the next thing you say you're putting up 17 trillion. You're not telling us how.
I never said 5 to 10 trillion. Right? What are you talking about? I never said that. Listen, I'm using the work of economists. I'm not an economist. So I defer to other people. Maybe you should too.
What I'm saying to you, is we need more than economists. There are psychologists. There's a lot of things that goes into.
We've already talked about lineage therapy. We've already talked about the need for lineage therapy in psychology. We've already talked about that. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is you need to get a psychologist on there to really go into the amount of damage that we could be doing to.
You're not saying anything different. You're just being contrarian to be contrarian. You're not saying anything different than anything I've said. You're just being contrarian for the sake of being contrarian.
I'm not trying to be contrarian. I'm trying to encourage you to have a more robust discussion about how we arrive at this.
But the thing is, wait a minute. If you're encouraging me to have a robust discussion, you have to show me somewhere where I excluded somebody from the conversation and it said that you cannot be a part of this. Now, if you have another economist or psychologist, hold on, let me finish. I'm gonna let you finish. If you have another economist or psychologist or somebody I should talk to, I'm totally open to that. DM me the name and I'll get in contact with them. That's fine. I don't understand what you're talking about in terms of us. We have excluded no one from this conversation.
Okay, here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that you need to frame it in a broader way. I think that we've already cut off, you already just kind of decided how it's going to be pretty much.
and you need to open it up to the audience, and you need to have conversations about this over weeks. So
what are you talking about? How is the audience being shut out? Aren't you on the phone with me right now? How are you being shut out?
I'm going to tell you how I'm being shut out, because when I listen to your program, what I hear is the number being put out there. I would like to see us have discussion to what this number needs to be. Okay? I don't hear the audience chiming in, and I'm not chiming in about what the number.
They chime in all the time.
We need more. What?
But listen, they chime in. Everybody chimes in all the time. Everywhere from ADOS. Have you been to an ADOS meetup? Have you started an ADOS meetup in your area?
No, I haven't. But that's not the issue.
What's the issue?
On your program, just like you spending time tonight talking about Pelosi and all that, you spent a whole program on let's talk about the numbers. You know, that's what we need. We need to go week to week to week and have different. You have different. What do you call it?
Listen, let me tell you something.
Talking about different aspects of where you've been damaged.
Let me tell you something. I muted you, and let me tell you something. You're working my nerves. Let me tell you why. Before Antonio and I, nobody was having this discussion. Now, nobody. Let me just drop you right now because I'm tired. And we've gone back and forth, so you've had your say. Nobody was having this discussion. Nobody. Reparations was not on the national stage, not anywhere. Now, we, along with the help of all the ADOS people who are in the chat and on Twitter and elsewhere, and who have been, shout out to the fam who's been going to the fish fry and everywhere. Who've been following CBC people, asking them tough questions. We've been doing this as a group. Now, we brought this to the forefront. Now, understand, we have excluded no one from this conversation. Now, if you think that there's something more that should be done in terms of a weekly conversation, in terms of, like, understand, I'm relying on an expert. I'm relying on an economist. And we've already said there should be lineage therapy. If you want to see something in addition more robust, understand that we have ADOS fam who have started their own YouTube channels. I shout them out whenever they call in. We have ADOS fam who are having their own discussions. Start your own show. Everybody knows that when you do that, I support you. I don't try to say, well, what are you doing on YouTube? I'm supposed to be the only one over here. No. Everybody who has ever called into this show and said, guess what, Yvette? I started a YouTube channel because of you. I always say what, fam? I say, shout out your YouTube channel. And people go watch. I encourage it. I've never discouraged anyone. One of the most beautiful things about this whole process is watching other people flourish in this space. Because what has to happen, this needs to become like a place where a million flowers bloom. Because we don't do enough in terms of ADOS politics. And I know it can't be just Tone and Yvette. So I encourage everybody else, yeah, do your thing. Have your conversations on YouTube. If you think this, if you see like, yeah, Yvette and Tone do this, but they don't do enough of this. Yeah, Yvette and Tone do that, but they don't do enough of that. Clear up that space. But hey, guess what? If you're a person who don't want to take the heat of having your face and your name on YouTube because that might come back to bite you, then guess what? You a coward, and that's fine. But don't call me out because I'm here and all of my stuff can be downloaded. All of my stuff is available and I take the heat for that. You just can't be willing to call in. You can't be willing to call in and just hold me accountable about what you think you should see. And I want to see this and I want to see that. Well, bring me, if you want to see more psychologists or a more diverse group of economists, bring them. Bring them. I'm happy to bring them in. I think Tone's back. Y'all done made Tone. Oh, I think I dropped him. Hold on 1 second. You there, Tone?
What up?
What's
Man,
going on?
I'm gonna keep it brief. I just wanted to speak to the caller. I think it's funny because I take a bit of a different view from you in this way. I think you can think of Yvette as the oracle and me as the architect. If you from a simple standpoint of the matrix kind of concept, and I don't mean that in terms of control versus imagination or whatever. But I mean that in the sense of I take a different view that I don't want to hear from that dude. Look, tell you this. I don't understand if you think this is a fish fry, or you think this is some kind of bakery, or this is some kind of community get-together, but this is
real. When I say this, the man named Fetty Darity that she tried to put down, he's an MIT economist that ran a department on reparations, basically, at Duke, an Ivy League university. I did a report with him. I also did an article with Matt Brunig from demos.org. Go look it up. The thing about it is that we have a problem with respecting expertise. Yvette Carnell worked on the Hill for years. Multiple Congress members, Democrats, and the DNC. I don't think that everybody understands. You might have a special expertise at plumbing, janitorial work, post office work, and I respect it. But I don't think you understand that the way we got here is because me and Yvette sacrificed a whole bunch to help y'all see yourself. See, I'm an attorney. I got an Emmy nomination on a documentary. Y'all let Kawhi Leonard or LeBron James or Beyonce or anybody else just be that celebrity, and then they get to be black and in the same vein as me or Yvette. This is the consequential work of our generation right now because y'all don't have enough wealth. I'm saying this to you with all kind of attempts to be as respectful as possible. When you tune into the show, just sit back if you just got here. When you tune into the show, call in with your questions. But what you can't do is tune into the show and tell the two people who made reparations, let alone the discussion of black wealth in context of real black folks, a national discussion. In January, nobody was talking about reparations. Nobody was planning on talking about reparations. But now we in July, and it seemed normal. And so now that it seemed normal, everybody want to say, well, I did that too. You know, and the thing is, we all played a role. But the reality of some of the legwork, I don't think we all get a grasp on it. And so where I take a different stance than Yvette is, I agree, you can call in and everything else. But you ain't going to get to choose the amount. And Darity really don't get to choose. But you got to tell me a math that you're using that conflicts with Darity. And the thing is, let me say this to the caller, because he was ignorant. You're just an ignorant person. You can't even get to psychologists because we can't get past ADOS. Let me say it again. You can't even get to the implementation stages, which we try to deal with on ADOS 101, because just on an identity level, you don't have people who want ADOS to exist. Everything that Salim Kweli or that Yvette Nicole Brown said, or even Kamala Harris, is that ADOS shouldn't exist. We all flat back in America. We can't even get to the point of what the specifics are going to be about how you repair, because they saying that the group don't exist just in a backhanded way. In addition, you can't ask us for the amount when the American government hasn't done the work to create the structural, and they can do it. This is a government that has drones and computers that monitor people. The structural infrastructure, to really evaluate slavery. And that infrastructure isn't $12 million. They can create an infrastructure to evaluate. Understand that just NBC was able to find what they found on McConnell in less than 2 or 3 weeks. That's NBC. That's not the U.S. government. They have to create the infrastructure. What we're saying is that there's a roundabout range of, we know it's multiple trillions of dollars, so we can stop getting conned. Because you get everything from, we'll just give you a couple $100 billion that'll go to everybody, to we don't know, we just got to study it. What we're saying is, we need you to commit to the fact that it's going to be trillions, so we know that. Yeah. But we can't tell you the amount. And I apologize for calling in twice, but the ignorance of that man calling in, I kind of wanted to address, because it's not about everybody having a moment of fame for you to say something. So call in with a specific addition, or just don't call. All right.
Appreciate it, Tom. Appreciate it. And you know, that's the thing that keeps happening. Like, you know, shout out to everybody online. Shout out to all the ADOS people who are doing work in their communities and having meetups and doing political work. But what happens, you know, and those are the people who I respond to most often in my DMs and stuff, because I see you. Even if you're just doing work on Twitter and you're really causing hate, I see you. But like, a lot of people don't do anything but just say, well, this is what you ain't doing. No, that's not good enough. And it's fine if you don't want to reveal yourself because of your job or whatever, on some level, I guess. But the problem is, like, you can't be a coward and then call in and tell me what I need to do. No, you just sit there and do what you do. Like, live your life. I'm going to the next call. I'm going to 313-313. What's your name? What you calling from? What's on your mind? Hello? 313?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's going on with your background? Can you turn it down a little bit? Where you at? Come on.
I'm so sorry. I'm calling you from work.
Don't get in
I'm
trouble.
getting to a quiet area right now. But I called in a few weeks ago, and we spoke. I'm the guy that from Detroit that ended up having to sell his car to pay his rent.
Okay.
Yeah, well, first off, I would like to say to the gentleman that called in before Mr. Antonio Moore called back, so, look, you have to understand that right now, Antonio Moore in the background there is essentially feeding us. Mentally, they are feeding us right now. And just because you're not mentally prepared to take your knowledge doesn't mean you need to be calling in and attempting to argue over something that you're not quite educated about. That is just a little bit of forethought into what I'll do with you. Beyond that, the show today was on fire.
I appreciate it.
You will have, hello?
No, I appreciate it. No, I just said I appreciate it. You can keep going. I'm sorry.
I do have, my congresswoman for Wayne County, Michigan, she is one of those that was singled out by Donald Trump with the crap that he was, the racist crap he was spitting online. And honestly, I can't see anything that this woman has done for my county.
Who is it? Who is it?
What I'm done, I forget her name. It was crazy. I've been trying to call her for the past 3 or 4 months. And I keep getting either answering service or one of her representatives. They never, I don't know if they're giving her my messages or if they're not giving them to her. But she's never attempted to get back in contact with me from what I can tell. And I know that because even if I'm asleep, if my phone rings, I pick it up.
Okay.
At this point, with there being absolutely nothing being done in the city of Detroit for the foundational Black Americans in ADOS that's in the city, I'm at the point where I'm about ready to try to find someone else to run for her position. I can't do it. I'm not college educated, although I do have some college behind me. And I don't think that the white supremacists, they'd probably try to hurt me if I got into that position because I'm unapologetic with everything that I do. You know? Beyond that, now I do know the Democrats are coming into Detroit, Michigan next week, Friday. So everybody that's listening in the chat room that's from Detroit, they're going to be at Cobo Hall. I know Miss Gigi is going to be down there. I was informed about it through Twitter on her from her account. And I'm going down there. I'm going to have to leave early because I'm on 12-hour shifts. Fortunate enough, I did find another job this time.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Unfortunately, they working me like a slave. I work 12 hours, 5 days a week, and 10 hours the other 2 days a week. I'm on a 7 day a week schedule. But hey, I got to do what I got to do.
Yeah, you got to.
But so anybody from Detroit that's going to Cobo Hall, that can make it to Cobo Hall next week, Wednesday, it's the 24th. I'm going to be down there early. I'm going to cut my sleep like super short and throw my babysitter some extra money so she can come early to watch the kids.
Oh, man. This man working all the time and he going to go out and do politics and y'all saying y'all can't.
Man, no, I'm trying to do it. There's absolutely no reason why I should have to work this much.
No, it ain't. Not in a country that your ancestors built, which is the richest country in the world. No, you should have a good quality of life. You should be on some kind of 4-day work week. It's funny I watch all these other countries where they go hiking and stuff, but I'm not gonna talk too long because I know you on break or you don't walked away or something. I don't want you to get in trouble. Walked off.
Oh no, I got somebody to take. I got somebody to cover my spot for me. But that's the way it should be. There's absolutely no reason why us as foundational Americans, foundational Black Americans, we have to suffer the brunt of every misconception I mean, you know what? I can't even say misconception because there's no misconception about them doing this the way they do it. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and they have absolutely no problem doing it. I understand people that's not even that. First off, I don't see how, as a immigrant, your people can come here 100 years ago, and within 100 years, you're the president of the United States, or you're on Congress, or you can come here as an immigrant, as a child, and end up being on Congress. There should be some type of standard on that. How do we know we have America's best interest at heart?
It's not even that. It's the fact that you get to surpass us. It's that RFK conversation with James Baldwin and them all over again. Like, well, y'all will get it eventually.
Exactly.
No, we were here before you, though. How you get it first? Like, that's the real conversation. And that's the reckoning that we never really did. That is the reckoning that this country never did. Not but us. We've always pushed this country to do the reckoning. But it's the reckoning that never happened. And it's the reckoning that's getting in the way of everything in terms of the politics of the Democratic Party right now, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. But again, to everybody that's every ADOS that's in Detroit, if you can make it for, next week Wednesday, rather, I'm gonna be down there. I'll probably do what I can if I can bring coffee and donuts for us. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna be there early. I'm trying to be there around 6-7 o'clock in the morning. You know, I can try to catch them going into the building. Because I know they're not going to let me go. I don't have any formal attire.
Well, I think you might have to have tickets or something. You might have to have something to get in anyway. So you would probably still have to catch them getting in. Like you would probably still have. Yeah, they're not going to just let you walk in there like that. I don't think. But the chat let me know.
It's Como Hall.
Okay.
I got a lot of friends downtown. I'm sure I know somebody working one of the doors. If I chose to, I could get in.
Okay. I hear you, fam. I don't know what kind of
if I
food you got.
Formal and I chose to, I'm sure I could get in, rather.
All right.
And I mean, with all that being said, for the next callers and anybody else that calls in the future, please be respectful. You know,
I appreciate it.
Come on, a little bit of courtesy goes a long way. And,
it really does.
Thinking before you speak helps a lot.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate that.
With that being said, Ms. Carnell, Mr. Moore, y'all stay safe and stay blessed.
We will.
Hopefully, I'll be able to talk to you guys next week.
All right, fam. If you go, let me know how everything turned out. I appreciate you. All right.
Yes, ma'am. I surely will.
All right, now. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if you say you fam, and you call in and you be disrespectful. Now, that's not right. We're supposed to be fam. I'm going to try to go through the next couple callers, the next 2 callers or so. I'm going to try to go through you really quick. Just so I can get to you, because I said I was going to end the show a little early tonight. So please try to make your calls. Please try to truncate yourself. Truncate your words for me. I'd appreciate it. And, you know, everybody would appreciate it too. Just going forward. Appreciate it, fam. Because if you all remember this caller, he's going through a hard time, you know, trying to find work, this, that, and the other. Sold a car. I think he may have been a vet. Like a lot of stuff going on. So, you know, I appreciate him taking the time out from his job to call in and have his self heard. So, you know, that's the way it is, though. When you working somewhere and you're trying to walk away, some of y'all ain't did labor work. If you're trying to walk away from somewhere, it's loud. Like you working in this place, till you get outside of that, it's going to be loud where you are. Like if you always done office work, I've done a lot of stuff. Anyway, I'm coming to 734. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Stephen from Detroit.
Hey, what's going on?
Back to back.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna keep it short. I intend to keep it short anyway. I gotta really piggyback on what the brother said. I mean, I agree with him, fellow Detroiter. But there's also the 110th NAACP event is this Saturday at 12 a.m. at Cobo. So if anybody else is able to make it, you got to get tickets, but they're still available.
Okay.
So, but speaking specifically about the immigration situation and Candace Owens and all that other stuff, the thing is interesting, and they're kind of telling themselves, if we're listening, the immigrants say, you know, we don't think we're owed anything. The one person said, we don't think we're owed anything. We know about hard work. And I mean, that's true. You're not owed anything. You didn't work for free for this government for 200 years or 300 years, or you know, you weren't enslaved by this government for 400 years. So yeah, you work like you're not owed anything. Because here is a clean slate. The wife brought up a good point. You left somewhere else to come here. If you got so much drive, if you got so much initiative, if you got so much desire and can do and whatever, you know, moxie or whatever, why didn't you go and fix up the Dominican Republic? Why don't you go fix up Jamaica? Why don't you go fix up Trinidad? Why don't you go fix up Haiti? If you got so much, and I'm not, no disrespect to any allies from those countries, because I mean, I've been to Jamaica, I've been to the Dominican Republic, won't be going anytime soon, but, you know, I've been to those places. And so I understand that those people are hurting. And we talk a lot about, you know, class and how that dynamic relates to the immigrants that get to come here and the perspective they have. And the other thing about that, how that ties in is, you know, if you're an immigrant and you come to America, there's one of two ways you can really look at things if you don't kind of latch to ADOS struggle, the ADOS perspective. Either you come from a place that's worse than here, so you think we're complaining, and so you can't relate to what we deal with, or you come from a situation that was still worse than here in your way. Maybe you were still privileged, but I work with a guy. His father was a diplomat in Cameroon, so he had drivers and cooks, and he talks about this all the time because he wants to make fun of Easter, because that's where I'm from, and he makes fun of Easter because, you know, it's a poor black city, it's a poor black small American town.
Mm-hmm.
But he had maids and drivers, so I mean, his relationship to poverty, he wouldn't care about ADOS poverty. He don't care about the people in his own country that he made maids and drivers and butlers or whatever else. You know what I'm saying? He looked at poverty from the lens of a necessary evil to sustain a privileged lifestyle. And so, you know, I mean, that's really all I want to say. Okay. They're telling on themselves. And I think one thing, this is going to be a great schism for the African diaspora, because it really is, the battle lines are being drawn. And I hope that, you know, we can move forward together with true solidarity like you talked about today. So
yeah, me too. Thank you, Colin.
I'll let you go. Thanks for letting me call.
No, I agree. Like, but the only way we move forward, like, please understand me, I'm not anti-solidarity. But like he said, but the only way we move forward is with the true solidarity. I think what we've been living is a sort of faux solidarity. And, like, that's just not good enough. I'm going to what I think may be my last caller. I am going to 214. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? Did I do that?
Hey, Yvette.
Hey.
I'm calling from Texas.
Okay, what's going on?
I was listening to NPR, and I was calling about the duplicity part of your YouTube show tonight. And on NPR today, there's a lady by the name of Diana Randy Berry, and it was the Texas Standard show, and she, if you listen to her answer, you would think she didn't know anything, but when I went to her website, she's a very well-read person. She's a historian. She studied black slavery, and the host of the show, it was about, the title of the show, pull it up real quick. The title of the show was Amid the Talks of Reparations, Political Figures Contend with Their Slave-Owning Ancestry. So they asked her, so what do you think reparations mean? And what do you think that means? And she said, well, I think we should study it more. And then the host kept asking her, what does it mean? And she kept saying, well, I think we should study. And I'm thinking, no, lady, say we need, transformative policies. Say that we need money to repair the racial wealth gap. But she didn't say any of that. She kept saying, oh, we just need to study. We need to study. So I thought, well, maybe she doesn't know anything. But when you go to her website, again, it's Diana Randy Berry, and you look at her, she's a well-read person. She knows a lot. So it goes back to that duplicity. Here's a person who apparently is a descendant of slavery. She's read so many books. She has her history, her knowledge is like amazing. If you look at her website, she has her own website. She teaches at the University of Texas, but yet she wouldn't stand up for it. And it was just so heart-wrenching that someone with that kind of knowledge would not come out of her mouth and say what you and Tone say. So Antonio Moore is right. You guys are leading this discussion and taking the risk that other people in these high places that are historians that have this microphone
they don't use it. So going back to what you said, whenever we get that microphone, we need to advocate for us. And she didn't take that opportunity to advocate for us. And this is a show that's heard all over Texas. And she could have said those just a few words, and that would have went a long way. So, I don't know if y'all can check her out on Twitter, check out her website, and just somebody. Because if she gets the mic again, she needs to be on code. I didn't understand what being on code was until I started watching your show. Now I know. She was totally not on code.
It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to know if she's tenured. I always ask that question. If they're tenured, that sometimes they're trying to get tenured and not be too radical. But that's still no excuse, because this is a conversation that you can have. That's not. It's not even divisive. It's a debt. It's not like you're doing anything radical. Like, honestly, Medicare for all, whether you agree or disagree, is a much more radical thing to just say we're going to do that. Paying a debt is not radical. It's just like what you owe. That's not a radical thing. That's not a radical policy. Everybody knows it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and that's what I thought. She was just going to say that. And so I was going to, send her to tweet her and tell her, hey, here's, if you need to be able to answer this question, then here, go to adus101.com, and I'm going to send her copies of books. Here I'm thinking this lady doesn't know anything. And when I go to her website, because she's a professor, she has to have an email address. So I look her up. She has a full-blown website. And the website, it's like the books she's written about slavery, the books about what is the price for a pound of flesh. So you know the value of enslavement. From the womb to the grave, she writes this book, right? But yet you wouldn't say that you owe us?
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I agree with you, Carla. I agree with you. And I agree with you. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate it. I appreciate your call, Carla. I appreciate it, fam. Let me just say this, too. And I think that's going to be the last call, because I promise, and I'm going to keep my promise this time, to get out of here a little early. Listen, if you want to know, if somebody asks you, just off the top of your head, yes, absolutely right. The caller's absolutely right. It's transformational politics, reparations is. But at the crux of it, too, before you even get that far, reparations is redistribution. And it is not only a theft of unpaid labor. It is stolen land. It is the accrued accrued disadvantage. It's the redlining. It's all of that. It's all of that stuff that was stolen. It wasn't just one thing. So when you steal something, and all of that stuff that was stolen from us, even if you just look at the land, let's look at one thing right now. When you steal that from us, that was redistribution. That was redistributed our land to white people. After, Reconstruction, all of that stuff, even when you look at that, that was redistribution from us to the little stuff that we had when we were trying to make our way after the Civil War. Look at that one little microcosm. That's not the only thing. Just look at this right now. So that is theft. That was redistribution. You correct that with redistribution. Now you have to do redistribution because it was stolen. So you have to give it back. So we have to determine what the figure is for you to give it back. What that number is, because you got to give it back. That's what it is. So, fam, that was the last caller of the evening. I apologize if I did not get to your call next time, fam. I'll be sending out a bunch of shirts. Probably got them. We'll be sending them probably out tomorrow and Friday. So look for that if you order some. Just look for that coming soon your way, fam. So listen, fam, we're going to stay in here. We're going to keep the fight up. Everybody is in here. We're going to keep doing what we've been doing, and we're going to keep going what we, like I said earlier today on Twitter, this is a global thing. This is not just one thing. This is a global march towards a reckoning. And it's not just happening with ADOS. You look around the globe, we talked about the Jewish community standing in the shoes. We talk about the Aboriginals. There is this moment, this kind of pregnant moment where there's this moment where people who have been stolen from and robbed are saying, this is my moment. And this is our moment to do the same thing. But it's actually a global phenomenon. And now is the time to make it happen. And so I want to thank all the callers, except even the one. Like, thank everybody for calling in, because we have to have the conversation. Disagreements, that's fine, but don't do that no more. So fam, please, before you go, hit that like button. Like, hit that like button before you like turn off the lights when you leave. Just hit it. If you haven't hit the bell, hit that bell for me. Please also do not forget August the 1st, we're going to have this conversation. Should be an interesting conversation. If you haven't read it, it's not a long book. It won't take you a long time to read and figure out. So please do that. We're going to have the conversation. Fam, also, if you want to donate, as always, go to donatebrown.com. Please go to subscribetobrown.com. Give me your email, all that good stuff. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button for me. Cost you absolutely nothing to hit that. And please share it, and let's try to grow and do our thing. And don't forget to tune in to Tone Talks on Friday. Killer Mike will be on there. So we'll have that conversation as well. And I will try to be in the chat so we can have the conversation about what's going on as the conversation happens. So fam, until then, please take care of yourselves. Please finish your libations, and don't let nobody feel any way that you don't want to feel. Control your own emotional space, and do not be perturbed by the trolls. They're just part of the journey. I'll see you next time, fam. Thank you.